The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Tuesday, 31st of March.
The FujiCast.
Hello, Kev.
Hello, Neil.
He greets me with a nice big sniff to start.
Sorry.
You all right?
Sorry. Yeah. Not too bad.
You've just been out for a walk with Git and the other dog.
Getting breezy.
Breezy.
Yeah, nice little walk. It's a nice day today.
Did the family go with you as well?
Yeah, we all went. Yeah.
Are you seeing many people, or they're all hidden away?
No, none at all. It's really funny. We've got a guy, an old guy who lives about 3 doors away from us. I say old, he's probably, I don't know, late 70s maybe. And he's always in the pub and everything like that. And he's a real old character. And as we were going out the doors, he was coming out of his door.
Yeah.
And so Gemma waited for him to kind of, get himself sorted and everything. So stay the required distance away.
Yeah, clear the area.
And he just turned around and he said, "Come on, love, I'm not coughing. It's all right."
I know, but it's got to take it seriously.
I know.
Yeah. It's such a difficult thing. Welcome to the FujiCast, the daily FujiCast at the moment, while all this nonsense is going on. I say nonsense, this stuff is going on in the world. Thank you for your questions that you've been sending in. It's not just a show for those that use Fujifilm cameras. It's very much turning into a show that just joins the photographic community together. So thank you for joining us. Thank you as well for, over the last couple of days, I've received a couple of DMs and messages about the John McCarthy interview over the weekend. That's very kind of you, very generous of you. He was a good guest, and of course there are particular parallels in terms of isolation at the moment, and the isolation that he was talking about. And if you're not quite sure who John McCarthy is, and not quite sure what stone you've been living under, but he's the former Beirut hostage that was kept for it was about 5 years, 4 months, I think. 1,943 days. Incredible amount of time. Unbelievable. But so we're not quite in those in that kind of situation, but some of the parallels that he drew and what he talked about, I know were quite potent for some people, pertinent for some people. Talking of which, let's start off with this one from Helen Fennell, friend of the show, Helen Fennell. An extra gold star, she says, for the daily shows. I have MS, and so I isolated quite early, and your podcast has become part of my daily routine in these very odd times. Helen Kev sent in, I'm not sure if you saw, did you see the incredible astronomy shots that were sent in?
I did, yeah. Oh, that was Helen, was it? Yeah.
And she sent a story of her journey, which started with Grandad giving her a book when she was a wee small Helen Fennell, to years later driving to go and find areas, the best areas she possibly could with the least light pollution, which I would imagine is very important when you're doing astronomy photography. But I thought it was stunning shots, Helen. Although I wouldn't personally know my I only remember a few. Orion Nebula from my microscopium.
From your what?
Exactly. It's
from your microscopium?
Connected to your something bone. Did you know that the International Space Station flew over last night, Kev?
I did. I even tried to look for it.
Did you see it?
I couldn't see it.
Sam was convinced she saw it. I think she just saw a police helicopter searching for joyriders.
No, it's pretty easy to see, actually, when it is going. So she moved. If it was moving quick enough, she would have seen it. If it was above you. But there's a really cool app called Night Sky on the phones.
The ISS thing, yes.
Yeah, and it shows you exactly. It shows you what's above you, and like if you just point, you have to calibrate the phone with the gimbals and everything that's inside it. But you point to a star, and it tells you what star it is, and it's amazing. And it shows you when the ISS is going over. When we were in Spain, God, remember those days when we used to go to Spain?
Kev, it's only a year.
We used to. Well, it'd be 2 years now.
It'd be 2 years. Yeah,
oh God, yeah. Anyway, it was great. I used to love that. I could just kind of lie on my back in the middle of the desert in Spain, and the skies are crystal clear, and you could practically see the astronauts waving at you through the window. It's incredible.
You have a very, very vivid imagination. Anyway, she's very proud of the pics, as the time, the effort, the persistence needed to take these shots, I think, is incredible. I really do. Anyway, she said, it was my very long way of asking, which photograph that you've taken are you most proud of? Sending best wishes from Earth, Helen Fennell. I don't know.
Well, we kind of talked about this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? When we did the, I don't know whether it was Proud or Most Important one, and I picked the one of Albie crying his eyes out.
Oh, yeah.
You picked the one of the bride and her mum, embracing.
Yeah. Mine all come from weddings, actually. I mean, there was that one. Did I ever tell that story about the bride who, there's a particular picture I show in my portfolio that is a bride just looking over the shoulders of what is her father. And Luke, I am your father. I've been watching far too much Star Wars the last couple of days. Anyway, I'm looking over the shoulder of the father, and he is reading a reading. And at the time I take that particular shot, she's looking straight at her father, and I'm right next to him. And the reading that he's reading at this wedding is not the reading that she gave him, or was agreed to read out. It's actually a letter that he wrote to her on the very day she was born. And the look in her eyes. So that's another one of my favourites. They all seem to be from weddings.
I think the one I'm most, I'm not sure proud is the right word to use, but the one I was luckiest, I suppose, is I took a picture from the Tokyo Skytree of the Tokyo skyline, and we were up there one year, and the clouds broke, and this beam of sunshine came down, and literally there was about 200 people up there at the time, and every single person took exactly the same picture as me, exactly the same one. And me and Bert Stefani always laugh because his picture, like his pixels are the same, it's identical. We took it with the same cameras from the same position. You could not tell a difference. And I entered mine into the SWPP landscape photography competition and won it. I won landscape photography of the year with this picture.
Oh, I remember it. Yes, I do remember it.
And it was in the Daily Mail and everything. And it was wedding photographer comes good with incredible landscape scene of Tokyo. And it was amazing. It got picked up. I actually sold a few copies of that, and it got picked up by a calendar company and all sorts. And it just makes me chuckle because I'm not a landscape photographer by any sense of the imagination, and about 600 people had the same picture.
Did he ever enter on one of his for the same picture for a competition? I'm just wondering if he's got declined. No, it's not good enough. We like Kev's though. Kev's is very good.
Yeah, Kev's was great. Yeah. The thing is, the irony is, he literally was, because he's about 17 feet taller than me, so he was just stood behind me, took his picture over the top of my head. So the position, the angle,
it's all angles. You see, yours is 1 foot lower and clearly much better.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Asim, in case you wondered I was being rude to you just a moment ago, Asim from Geneva in Switzerland. Oh, we went to Geneva recently, didn't we?
Yeah. Did we go? We went to Zurich, not Geneva. Oh, we flew to Geneva.
We flew to Geneva, yeah. I'm sure we did. Didn't we fly into Geneva? I'm sure we did. And because, well, I remember the McDonald's there. Good. Yeah, you're right. It was good, Geneva, solid Swiss food.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what? That's when all this is done and the restaurants all open up, I'm looking forward to a McDonald's. Isn't that bizarre? All the things you could choose.
Yeah, I'm not.
Sorry about that. Hello, guys. You continue to make these days a bit more bearable, and a very heartfelt thank you for that. No storm lasts forever, and this one won't either. But while we're at it, I was wondering if we could do more than just shoot pots and pans around the house by actually improving our craft. I've always found a lot of insights in studying the works of the masters, often by studying individual images. I wonder if you've got a list of such images that you love, and if, on a dark, forbidding day with nothing better to do, you could perhaps delve a bit deeper into why you love them. I don't know. I mean, I do study the masters. Well, I must admit, I like the pots and pans work of Don McCullin.
Yeah, Don McCullin. And of course, Magic Pat over in Canada, he's the master of taking pictures of pots and pans and making them look beautiful.
And your good friend.
Yeah, my good friend. Funny enough, tomorrow...
Your other good friend, Lewis Garvan.
Lewis,
he's a pots and pans specialist as well.
Tomorrow on the 1st of April is my turn on the Cargay Collective. We're doing this series called Definitions, and we're all doing one a month for, I think it's like 12 months or something. And of course, like yesterday, I woke up and thought, I've got nothing to show. I've got nothing. I don't want to just put wedding pictures up there. And so I had a gander around the very few pictures I've taken since we've been stuck in the house. And it's interesting if you want to look at it from the 1st of April. It's on cargaycollective.com, and that's KAGE collective.com.
Not Cage.
Not Cage. No, don't say Cage, because Pat will go nuts. Yeah, Cargay. It's Japanese for shadow, apparently. Anyway, so I dug into my GFX and the couple of pictures that I have taken, and they're kind of portraits and stuff. And it was quite interesting because it's definitely, even though I wasn't thinking about it, it's definitely a play on light and shadow for sure in those pictures. And we don't, our house, we've got like a 700-year-old cottage that has very little kind of window light. So finding the light is pretty difficult. But
is that how old your cottage is?
Well, I'm not sure it's 700 years old, but it's certainly. I think the foundations were built in something like 1600 and something or other.
I mean, I know the plumbing's old, but
yeah, the plumbing's old. It's very old. So I was quite pleased with some of the pictures. I thought actually, because they were snapshots really, but definitely a play on the light, and I think that kind of comes natural. I don't know. That sounds arrogant, doesn't it? It comes natural to me, but the most important thing I think about when I'm shooting in the house is the light. And even if you're just shooting pots and pans, the light is what can make those pots and pans look interesting to pots and pans lovers.
Well, I'm not so sure Asim is a big at Spockney, by the way, SPOCKNY. If you're going to look at his Instagram stuff, I'm not so sure Asim was looking for us to suggest how to shoot pots and pans. I think he was trying to get away from it. But I tell you what, if you want some good pots and pans, Asim, go do a Google search on Don McCullin's still life. Look what comes up. Apples on a Stone. Absolutely amazing. There's a real gravity to his work. You didn't just fall into it. I was looking at it the other day. I feel very tempted. I went in the shed the other day and I found some old paint and stuff. I thought, I'm going to rag roll a piece of old hardboard and go and do some Don McCullin apples on a stone.
Well, the thing is, that's Morandi, the artist. He's got a very famous series of work called Morandi's Objects, and they are literally pots and pans, and he painted them, and then Joel Meyerowitz went ahead and replicated it all through photographs. And there's a book called Morandi's Objects by Joel Meyerowitz. But Morandi, the artist, if you look at his stuff, it's incredible, and you'll see the subtleties of where the light is falling in the day that he's taking the picture. He's painting the picture, and they're all done in exactly the same place as well. It's quite incredible. It's an interesting study if you're a pots and pannerist.
There's money to be made in pots and pans, I'm telling you. There is.
Potsandpansphotography.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin Ellard, hope you're both coping in these yada 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 times. Just following on from my post in the Facebook group, if you haven't joined yet, go join the private Fujicast Facebook group. I wanted to say thanks, Kev, for his natter about David Hearn's book on episode 62. Made me dig back to the old drawers of slides and negs to find my Pentwyn Colliery College project from 28 years ago. Enjoying the daily while editing. Yes, editing. He says, I was lucky to have a couple of decent commercial shoots and an epic wedding a few weeks before lockdown. So in between family time, I'm still getting work done. Cheers, Martin.
Pentwyn Colliery. Honestly, those types of things, we talked about David Hearn stuff and, Martin Parsden, similar stuff back in the old days. And, I love all of that industrial, real life photography. Like nowadays, I don't know, again, we've talked about it before. It's more about nostalgia. You look at these old pictures, and then the reason why often they're appealing is because it brings back nostalgia. Whereas if you took the picture today and then just kind of processed it and looked at it, you would think, okay. But then in 20 years' time, when you look at that picture again, you think, wow, I remember, when those people looked like that. That was during the COVID war of 2020.
I tell you what, you don't get squalor like you used to. In our day, we used to live in a piece of coal. On that note, from Paul Vellender, thanks for the daily, yada yada, and another one. Hello chaps, Saturday I decided to sort the attic out. Sam's been trying to make me do that, and I'm too worried I might pull a hole down or something, and we really will be in trouble.
We sleep in the attic. We don't have an attic. Yeah.
I tell you, we don't even sleep in an attic. Attic? You're lucky. We sleep under a hole. Anyway, you have to... Well, what was that? What was that?
Have you been drinking?
No. Do you not remember that comedy sketch?
No, I don't think so. Are you on about Up the Elephant Around the Castle?
Was it that one?
When they had the old man who lived in the roof. that you never saw with Jim Davidson.
No, I think we're on two totally different programs here. Anyway, I decided to sort the attic out. No, I've not been drinking, not this time of the afternoon. Been meaning to for years. Came across with study projects. It's been very cathartic watching how I've developed from some of the weird assignments I set myself to where I am now, photographing corporate headshots. Non-tech question then, Kevin Neale. What's the weirdest assignment you had? Strangest photo request or otherwise? Careful with this one.
Don't be rude.
It's not that one.
What's yours?
If I was to leap back to, Martin just a moment ago was talking about his, Pentwyn College project. I remember doing a project, I went to night school to do some photography stuff, and I went, it was one of the first dates I took Sam on. We went down to the old Debtors and Navy prison on Bodmin Moor. She must have thought I was very romantic. And walked around that place and took lots of pictures, which made some really nice good gritty black and whites. Not quite sure it was the best date I ever took her on. That was a bit weird, I suppose. Oh yes, no, I've done some weird corporate jobs.
Yeah,
I had to photograph an MD in what looked like a nappy.
What?
It was.
Are you sure that was a corporate job and not some kind of fetish thing?
Don't be rude.
That was twice in one show. No, there was a reason for it. It was a team photo. It was to do with a pharma company, so it did make sense.
Yeah. Is he in prison now, that guy?
No, he's not. What's the weirdest thing you've done then?
I don't know. I think I'm pretty boring in that respect. One of the last photo shoots I did before the lockdown was I went and did I do some photography for the Great Run Company, and they as well as the behind the scenes on race day kind of thing, I do the they have a launch event for each of the major runs in Bristol. So there's a launch event for the Bristol 10K, which of course has been cancelled. And
I was supposed to work with you on that, doing video.
Did they get in touch with you? I put them in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just remembered. Well, we're not doing it anyway, Kev. We won't. Yeah.
No. Well, I sent her an email, and sorry, we're having a bit of an off the record conversation here.
Private chat now.
I did send her an email, recommended you, but I never heard back from her. So
she did. Yeah. So yeah, I got approached. It's obviously it's not happening now anyway. Nobody's running anywhere.
Anyway, well, they'll do the half marathon in September. Hopefully, that'll be a good gig.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I turned up, and it was a new PR woman.
Right.
So she didn't quite understand that normally I do the kind of behind the scenes stuff, and she had me taking pictures of what's that great big fluffy teddy bear bloke that does the for children in need. What's his name?
Not Bungle. No.
No. God. Children in need.
Pudsey.
Pudsey. Yeah. So Pudsey was there. Yeah. And they had the woman who won the Great British Bake Off, and they had some famous runners and stuff like that. And I had to take pictures of Pudsey holding them up in the air and all that kind of stuff. And I was taking these pictures, and I was thinking, this is my worst nightmare. This is actually my worst nightmare. Yeah. This could not possibly be further from what I generally do in my entire life. But they paid me, of course. So I was happy enough.
I think Kev sometimes looks at a list of formal portraits in sort of stark horror, don't you? So to be given Pudsey posing.
Pudsey posing, yeah. Bless him. He was lovely though. The guy, when he took his head off, he was sweating profusely.
I bet he was. He took his head off? You mean he's not a real character?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, kids. Yeah. Sorry.
That's a bit like, oh, God, what was that thing that Noel Edmonds used to have that bumped into everything? Mr. Blobby.
Oh, yeah. Well, we all know that everybody has to go on the internet and search for that video footage of you now. On the stage at the Radio 1 Roadshow getting blobbied.
I got blobbed. I tell you what, I'm not sure it was on that one, but I did tell you the story about when he actually pushed me off a stage that was about, I don't know, 2 meters up, and I crashed down onto partly onto the security, the steel security things that were around the edge, and some people as well.
Didn't he grow up to be the Stig?
Took me out. Did he what? Sorry.
Didn't he grow up to be the Stig?
Really?
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
Well, you don't see it. Have you ever seen Mr. Blobby and the Stig in the same room?
No. Any American listeners thinking, who is this Blobby and Stig? John St. John Smith just finally wrote in, not so much a complaint, but he wanted to correct us a little bit because he's absolutely fed up to the back teeth of hearing me have to go Nikon, 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 Nikon. He said, so I'm going to send you the proper pronunciation as spoken by Japanese people, which therefore has to be correct, doesn't it, really? So this is the proper pronunciation, which he sent me today.
Nikon.
It's off the internet.
Nikon.
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 Yeah.
So they're kind of more like Nikon, aren't they? Nikon.
Nikon.
Hope that makes you feel better.
Yeah. Okay, so from now on, every time that word's mentioned, we have to go Nikon.
Yeah, all at the same time.
Nikon.
That's it. I'll keep that jingle there, shall I?
I know some Nikon ambassadors.
Do you? Do they have a
Nikon?
Don't start that again. Right, interview time. I think with the exception of the odd special or three, like the weekend just gone, talking to the incredibly resilient John McCarthy, these interviews or chats during the week are going to start to be more hangouts with photographers you might be interested to hear from, or projects that could spark you into action of your own, or indeed 2 or 3 parters we can spread across a couple of weeks. And this one has been very much the latter. Bryan Caporicci from Sprout Studios, who trains photographers in the business side of running your own studio, has been talking to us about this very unusual and uncomfortable time for photographers. We talked last week on episode 64 and 66 about marketing through this and what would happen when the shutters come up again the other side. And today, in this last part from Bryan, contracts, and how at this time your contract, or indeed moral compass, could guide you as it comes to cancellations and postponements across different genres. And in the spirit of being honest with you, I'm going to share personally how my own contract may not have been so smart. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to tell you the bad thing about my contract, and I'm going to listen to you wilt underneath your desk there, and almost I'm going to imagine you putting your head in your hands, thinking, "Oh no, what did you do?"
I'll put my microphone on mute.
Now, I want to hear your honest reaction. Now, look, I have run I would say that 90% of my business, maybe more. It's changing a bit now since I'm going back into sound work. But let's be honest, the last 15 years, I put food on the table and bought new Lego sets for the boys, mainly because weddings have been very, very good for me and to our family. So at one stage, Bryan, I was shooting up to 80 weddings a year, and I used to talk I used to talk on stages here in the UK at different conferences about them. In fact, I had a talk called Around the Year in 80 Weddings.
Oh my gosh.
But it was something I did, and I was used to it. I had a retoucher as well that was working with me, so that made life easier. And that was a business model, and I was okay with that. Yeah, there were times where I thought, I'm not going to the beach again with the kids, but that was just the way we ran the business. So I had what I would call a fairly soft contract. It was very hardened, and I softened it because I thought the occasional person that pulled out, if I was doing between what ended up to be between 60 and 80 weddings a year, if I lost somebody, it wasn't the end of the world. I'll go to the beach this weekend instead. And so the contract was that if I got to the wedding date, 60 days before the wedding date rather, if they cancelled, they only owed me half the amount of money. Now, of course, notwithstanding pandemics, that one came back to bite me in quite a severe way in the last 30 days. So I'm seeing your head in your hands. That contract is clearly not a very good contract.
Okay. My response is, I think, actually going to surprise you. Okay. I don't think this is tricky. A lot of photographers are in this situation where they're all of a sudden realizing they didn't have the proper contract in place. Now, here's my advice. And again, I need to say this. I am not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, so I can't even pretend that I know what I'm talking about. But I teach business, so I have insight into that side of things. I'll say as a disclaimer, whatever I say, please check with your own lawyer in your own geographical area with your own federal laws. However, at the end of the day, especially through times like this, I don't think a contract is even as important as we think it is.
Really?
Yes, and I say that because I think in times like this, the most important thing is relationships. The most important thing is protecting your reputation building a brand, having trust, having loyalty with your clients, having good word of mouth with your clients. We talked in previous episodes about marketing and about selling. And I've always held the position that contracts can do everything for us. I mean, we can literally have a clause about anything in a contract. And if anything goes wrong, we can whip out that contract and just slap it in our clients' faces and say, too bad I have a contract. But that is never good for a relationship-based business like we have. So even if you had the most rock solid contract, even if you could get the entire payment because of what's happened here, I still don't think it's a good idea. I still think that right now, through this, relationships, having good word of mouth, working with your clients, being empathetic, being understanding is the most important thing, even in the existence of a rock solid contract. I know that a lot of the photographers that teach on legal, topics and contracts are probably not going to like what I'm saying here. And I'm not saying that contracts aren't useful, they're not helpful, and that we don't want to have them. We do need to have them. But I don't think that it should ever be used as a weapon. I don't think it should ever be used at the expense of having a great relationship with our clients, being empathetic, having trust, and keeping a really solid reputation. So I think that, yes, we can take this as a lesson and make sure that our contracts are a little bit more sound in the way that they're structured. But I think that a contract is really just an excuse to have a teaching tool for our clients. Yeah. A contract is meant to have something to guide a conversation so that we can have the conversations because they're about to sign this document that says all these things. But at the end of the day, I would still rather see a photographer work with a client. Like, again, you have to put yourself in our client's shoes. If you're a wedding photographer, I just had a wedding this past week. I was supposed to have a wedding this past weekend.
Me too.
It's this huge 200-person wedding.
Oh, wow.
And they were humming and hawing. They were so stressed. They were so upset by it. And I could easily have said, look, like, we're talking 7 days before your wedding. You still owe me $8,000. I'm not going to let you, based on my contract, here's what's going to happen. But I didn't, because that's not going to be good for the relationship. So I was empathetic. I worked with them. And what they're doing instead is they're doing a 1-year anniversary the same day on their 1-year anniversary at the same venue with the same package. So I worked with them. I moved their date because you have to put yourself in their shoes. Like, I can't imagine the stress or the worry that these brides are having right now. I mean, they're looking at planning, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 weddings. They've got 200 of their best friends and their family coming from all around the area to come to this venue. They've planned flowers. They've planned. I mean, we know what's involved in planning a wedding, and all of a sudden, just to have that canceled, like it's so difficult. And then so for us to be like, well, you know what? Too bad you owe me money because my business is struggling. They're saying, yeah, and I've got $100,000 in liability right now because everyone's saying the same thing. Yeah. So if we can put on our humankind hats here, if we can put on our empathy hats and sort of work with our clients one-on-one, I think that we're going to find ourselves in the long run in a better position because we have prioritized relationships and human empathy over some document that's written on a piece of paper that they technically signed that they didn't realize what they were signing.
So if you like, I'm going to use a terrible, clumsy expression here, but that's the fluffier end of some people would say the fluffier end of photography being weddings, because all love and engagements and what about the harder nose side that some people might say is corporate photography, where you're dealing with blue chips or whatever? Are you going to let them off those contracts as well, or are you going to charge cancellation fees? Does it change genre by genre?
Damn, I wasn't prepared for that. That's a hard question. That's a really hard question. I think for me, my thought process or my advice that I just gave when it comes to weddings or like people photography is, again, more so because that industry, that business, and your business moving forward is going to depend on those relationships. It's going to depend on your ability to be a person and connect as a person with people and have referrals and build this empathetic business. That's what that business is based around. If you're a corporate photography studio and you've got 5 shooters and you just get booked to go cover events and there's no relationship. It's all RFPs. It's all, invoice based and whatever. Does my opinion change? I think it probably does. And that's not because I don't think that the human connection or that the human element is not important in those situations, but it's because it's a different relationship. And the way that business model is run, the way that business model grows and how you get future business isn't necessarily entirely based on your ability to be empathetic and be relatable and build trust with people as much as it is for a wedding photographer or a maternity photographer or a newborn photographer. So I think my advice probably would be a little bit different. At the same time, at the end of the day, it is still people we're dealing with. If you work with this one event planner who, they book out a lot of your events corporate wise. And, if you want to stick it to them, is that going to be great for that relationship moving forward? I don't know. So I think that every situation is probably going to be a little bit different. But I think, these this is the thing, you keep hearing it, but these are unprecedented times. I don't think anybody really has an answer. And so I think the best situation is to look at each case one by one. And you have to have a moral compass. You have to have a business compass. Like, what do you believe in? How strict are you comfortable being? And maybe there's wedding photographers that'll disagree with this, and that's totally fine too. For me, my moral compass points me in the direction of being empathetic with my clients. We're in a small area here. There's a lot of word of mouth. The vendors all talk. I would rather preserve a really good relationship in my community and in my industry than to be known as the guy that screwed a bunch of brides out because he had to make money. So, and again, I'm being a little bit harsh in saying that, but I think that that's where everyone's going to have to use their own sort of moral guidelines to figure out what makes sense for them.
I have a feeling we may be hearing more from Bryan over the next weeks and months. And that's it for today. So thanks, Kev.
Nikon.
Yes.
Nikon.
That's good.
Yesterday I watched every episode of The Detectorists. You ever seen The Detectorists?
Nikon.
No, I haven't.
Well, you go watch it. It's brilliant. There's 3 series of it. It's beautifully shot, and it's very funny, and it's about metal detectorists.
I've heard of this. Yes,
really cool.
Yes.
And I watched yesterday. I got up, even though it was only Monday, and I sat on the sofa and I thought, I'm not doing any work today. I can't be bothered.
Did you have a day off?
Yeah, I just lay on the sofa. I wasn't feeling particularly great, and I just watched The Detectorists all day long.
Are you feeling better now?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Good.
I'm okay. Yeah. So watch The Detectorists. I like to do my little, what to watch next thing.
Yeah. Well, there's one for us to watch. Well, what are you doing this afternoon then after this? Or this morning after this if you're listening in a different time zone?
I'm going to put my hazmat suit on and go down the co-op.
Are you?
Yeah. We
what have you run out of?
We're kind of doing all right, I have to say. The co-op in Malmesbury has been brilliant.
Don't say that. They'll all be down there.
No. What I mean is they've done this, early morning for the key workers and the old age pensioners and everything.
Yes.
And they've been really good with the kind of you can only have 1 pint of milk type thing and all that. So they've been. I mean, of course, there's not. I went down the other day and couldn't get any eggs or anything like that. But by and large, they've been really good because they've always got alcohol.
That's not essential goods.
It is. Do you know what I did? I bought 1.5 litres of whiskey off Amazon.
What?
Yeah. It came as well.
You're
Amazon,
abusing the situation here. Well, look, have a nice afternoon watching the rest of the Detectorists and drinking your 1.5 litres of Amazon whiskey. And see you on the show tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nikon.
The Fujicast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.